the president is faced with a problem. We have 15 years of people giving out the jobs, taking off regulations, like he said with the auto company. They knew that they needed those regulations. You know, they didn't have a problem when re-legislating those regulations on the auto industry, because you had a oil constituent president that literally just kind of took off all the regulations with that. And so they knew that they were out of bounds, just like the rich. They know that they're out of bounds too, you know. But you know, and they're doing anything like they're saying, well, can we have it up to $1 million? You know, you know, he's saying $250,000. He says, well, can we have it up to $1 million? Well, if he rose the bar to $500,000, I guess that would incorporate some, but that's not, you know, the people who are rich are really, you know, they're already rich. So $200,000 or $500,000, $200,000 or $500,000 isn't going to make a difference, you know. Neither is $1 million. You know, you know, it's just if you're over this, the average Americans are below this, and if you're above that, then you're more than likely rich, you know. So anyway, and that handles a lot of people, and that's what they're trying to avoid. But he might have to throw them a ball in order to win back some of the popularity. But like I said, I like the fact that, you know, he understands that regardless of the situation, it falls back on him. So you have people who have tossed the jobs, tossed the regulations away. So now how do you, in 1 or 2 years, and I really think they're being overly critical, because any other president, they wouldn't be like that. I mean, he has stabilized the economy. It was about to go off the edge of a cliff, you know, period. It was over with. And he reeled it back in. You have to give him credit for that. You call him the great stabilizer, you know. But first you have to stop the train and then set it in reverse and then build up the momentum. People aren't getting that. They don't care. It's, again, a situation of they just want what they want. And so what he's saying, I really like, whether it makes sense or not, you know, that's what he's dealing with. He's got to give them what they want. He has to appease them, has to get the job going regardless if it doesn't make sense or if it's impossible. So every now and then people ask you to do something absolutely impossible that absolutely makes no sense. Like turning around the economy in 2 years when it took 15 freaking years to get there. And they don't give a crap because they're not thinking. They're using their emotion. They're only doing what they want. So it's an I survive. And the people that are doing it, they never sacrifice anything anyway. And so they don't know how to just say, okay, let me grit it, bear it, and then let me handle my part. Let me hold on. At least we got something that is in place that is doing. The other thing isn't working. The other thing didn't work. You know, the other, what they did for 15 years didn't work. Okay, at least we got something in place that will rectify and create, will correct that situation. So they're not even thinking on that. You know, their emotions have overridden that type of logical thinking of the process. Okay, at least we have the things in the right place. It's like a business owner, like what he mentioned. He's like, okay, a person is making investments because they know that's going to turn around and it's going to eventually come back. So the people who are doing it, that's not what they care about. They just want what they want. They want the impossible, and they want it right away. So I like the fact that he's saying, it's my responsibility. It's my responsibility to find a way. And I believe that he will find a way. There is a rectification. There is an answer. For every problem, there's an answer. And so there's a solution. And so there is a solution. What it is, and that's what he's saying, is what is it? So how do we get all those jobs? Let's say, so we've given jobs to, you know, China. We've given jobs. I'm not gonna say China because my co-worker, my partner is from China. So so anyway, but but he brings business to me. We collaborate together. He handles and he makes the business working for me. So how do we take the jobs? So the problem is the jobs are gone. So Sony got those jobs. They're making your TVs and making your cars and everything's jobs that you should be doing. They ship those jobs overseas and all of that stuff, and they're constantly doing it. And there's nothing wrong with it, but what they should have done is had irresponsible individuals that would say, okay, but what about us? The CEO was just looking out for his interests. He was like, okay, I'm gonna get all the money, and I don't need to take care of my workers here in America. I'll just have those people, and I can get paid more. So there needs to be some kind of regulation in that. At least I think so. There needs to be caps and stuff like that. The problem is when you do that, you make enemies. You can't do the right thing and not make enemies. You're going to have people that don't like you, don't want it to work for you and everything. So he's got some real problems on that end. So they're not going to like him from both ends of the stick. From the bottom up and from the top down. So he's between a rock and a hard place, So I feel for the guy. I feel for the president. It's a tough situation, but still, he can get a victory out of it. I honestly and truly believe that. So how do you get those jobs? So those jobs are gone. The competition is still audio files, video files, all that stuff, car industry, and all that stuff that is made across. And some of the American cars have been coming back strong and handling some things. But what do you do in those situations? How do you solve that? How do you get those? You can't. So what he's saying, they're gone. So what he's saying is that we got to generate and create new jobs. So we need infrastructure. We need to put the people back to work. You know what? My curb over here is done. They did it. They fixed it. I don't know if it's because I complained on YouTube or what, but it is superfluous. And some people worked and put that down and put those jobs in there. So we need to build the infrastructure, technology, greenhouse jobs, and stuff like that. And so we also need mega incentives for people to want to invest here instead of sending it overseas. And we need the American people to have a better attitude about that. It's bad when your people are saying, yeah, fine, but I want to start at $30 an hour. It's like, how do you get there? Even if they started at $15 an hour, which is, good money in a lot of places. $15 an hour in Buffalo, New York would be good. Most of the jobs, average job is around $10 an hour here, And I used to work one, and I was very damn proud of it, and I worked it, I worked it. I worked it, seriously. I handled my business, and I was able to get bonuses and stuff like that. I was able to get more money on that job from incentive, piecemeal, sales, and stuff like that. So, there's nothing wrong with small beginnings. The problem is you have a lot of people that don't understand that. They don't understand how to take, the small thing and build it and grow it. Again, want what they want when they want it, and that's it. So it's a tough situation, Well, that's my brother saying something on Facebook. But so what people don't know is that those other countries are more advanced than us in some of the technological fields. They have better infrastructures, not just infrastructures. They also have better wireless, high brand. So they're set up to do better than us in the future. And President Obama has already signed into the FCC the backbone type of regulation that will help those infrastructures so that people who work at home, works in business, who create money over the internet, transfer files and stuff like that can do that quicker and faster. So he is doing a lot of the things that you don't see to help us set up for the future that will grow jobs and stuff like that. What you need to do is chill out, hold it down, handle your business, and stop crying because you missed one meal. I'm not saying, then if you say that, you give them the truth serum, then they're going to say, oh, he's out of touch. It was just criminal the way they talked to him during that conference. It was absolutely criminal the way they set it up. I was like, dang, well, you think this guy is Jesus Christ? He is, those things were so loaded. The questions were so loaded, and they were put together real soft, and under it was cloak and dagger. It was terrible, and this is how you know that cat is cool, because he handled them. He handled them without freaking out. I would just hurt my feelings. I'm just like, how could you be so backstabbing? I would have been holding on to the podium. But he that's a bad cat. He's tough. He's really tough, because I would have, he stayed humble in that situation and stuff like that. And really, he blamed it on what the American people want. I think a lot of it has to do with that innate hatred and popularity because of that Muslim thing, And like I said, it needs to be worked on, And I only say that because of the way some of the people have been coming off to me on Facebook. It's just like, if you say something, they just be mean. I'm like, dude, why are you tripping like that? Anyway, so anyhow, there are solutions. He knows the solutions. He's working, but as people are sitting around watching grass to grow, they're sitting there watching for the water to boil. It's like the water is going to get hot. Go and do your other little stuff until it does, and then you can cook your meal. It'll happen, it's not easy. Anybody who has done it, and that's the thing, is to get the American people. Now, what I got is like how he said, well, when you kicked the tires and stuff and you looked under the hood when he was in Illinois, that's the same guy, right? What I don't understand is how they took 15 years of this garbage. The Democratic Clinton left the office with the biggest surplus in history, and then the Republicans come in and we got the worst deficit in history. Why doesn't that add up for anybody? So what I don't understand is how they can do that. How they can just ignore those facts, I was going to say something else, but I'm drawing up on the close here. So anyway, I just don't understand how Americans can't, that they're such wusses. They've come to be such wuss. Then they'll fly off the handle as soon as they feel somebody insults them or did something against them. Where's the backbone? And I said it before, and it's unfortunate. He can't say it. He can't say Americans are resilient and they can take a punch. He can't say that, because then they'll whine about that. Even though it's the truth. It's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, they got us, and yeah, So anyway, what I was gonna say is, why didn't they become so up in the ante and so sensitive for 15 years of being screwed over by the Republicans? Why they didn't say anything then? Why in only 2 years are they up in wars and up in arms and everything else and all of this and so sensitive now? Well, 15 years they laid like a dead dog, a dead horse, and let anybody come up and kick them, and they ain't do nothing but make a thud sound. Boom. We going to war. Boom. Oh, we're gonna take all the regulations off the auto industry. Boom. Boom. You kick them and they wouldn't do nothing. Oh, we're building the infrastructure so you can make money. Calm it down. I just don't get it. Oh, my man Ed Thomas is laying it down with some serious posts. He's doing some work. I will tell you, Ed Thomas is gonna start working again. I'm telling y'all. You gotta light a fire. Ed's gonna get me. All right. So anyway, God bless you all. Love you all. You know, it's a lot of people innovating. I worked for Apple, yes, and so there's a lot of, there were students when I was at CompUSA, there were students coming in from college and interviewing me, talking about Apple as a business model. And so they're interviewing me based on, how they respect the business model and handle it. Business is not hard to figure out. You plant the seeds, you till the soil, you keep upkeeping it, you grow it, you feed it the things that it needs, and it will grow. Lots of people will just grow a business. It's the people that's sitting up there that's just like, boom, oh, give me, do for me. Get out there and work, or just maintain, or take a little cut in salary. Make an honest day's work instead of having to sit around and expecting to get these high-priced dollars. The world has changed. The competition is too thick for that now. Now you got to get serious. It's real. All them jobs is overseas. All you can do is create ones, and then you could create one personally. Don't wait for the government to do that. That's America. That's Americans. People under high pressure situations come out with a victory that rise to the challenge. I mean, it might hurt, but it don't hurt when you're on the other side and you won.